You're listening to the Vint Wine Podcast, where you'll hear interviews and stories from around the wine world. From writers and critics to winemakers and sommeliers, we'll explore the people and businesses who are instrumental in shaping wine culture. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 5 Questions with a Winemaker, presented by the Vint Marketplace. In these interviews, we highlight the world-class winemakers featured on our full-length episodes in a quick 5-question format. We hope you learn more about a new producer, what makes their wine special. Enjoy.
All right, we are here with 5 Questions with a Winemaker with Nancy Irelan. Thanks for joining.
My pleasure.
We'll jump right in. First question is, where are your vineyards located and what varieties do you work with?
My vineyard it's a 54-acre total vineyard, 34 acres planted. It's on the northwestern shore of Seneca Lake in the Finger Lakes, one of the 11 lakes. We grow cool climate Vitis vinifera. So we grow primarily Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Blaufränkisch, Weigel, Dornfelder, Lagrein, Tyrol de Go, Cab Franc. And did I say Pinot? I think I said Pinot.
Riesling.
Riesling. Yes. Riesling and Pinot. Yeah. I have a few varieties.
Second question is, if someone has never heard of Red Tail Ridge, what's the first thing you would want them to know?
I think we are all about the bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
We are definitely all about the bubbles. We do some really interesting red varietals, as with Tyrol de Go and the Grind, Blaufränkisch. So we do cool climate reds, but really more and more we're leaning into sparkling wine. And we're committed to the long term for producing quality sparkling wines. So I'd say, and I'd say that the wines that I make are a complete reflection of this place. I'm really not doing a lot of touch to these wines. Whatever comes in from the vineyard, we're doing our best to just maintain that stylistic profile, and they are a complete reflection of that particular vineyard. And I don't think they can be misconstrued with anyone else's vineyard.
Awesome. And then for more info on that, we get into that in the full-length podcast as well. Question number 3, what are some regions or wine styles outside of the Finger Lakes that inspire you?
Well, obviously Champagne. It's an incredible place, and there's so much tradition there. Every time I go to visit, I learn something new. Like, for example, we're working with a Solera method base wine now, and that's something that's very old school from Champagne. I'm also intrigued because of my interest in more unusual kind of esoteric things and new up-and-coming areas. I'm intrigued by the developing wine industry in Baja, Mexico. There's a beautiful area, has a freshwater estuary on the West Coast. I can't remember the name of the town, but I've always thought that would be an intriguing place to grow vines. When I was in California, we used to go down there a lot. And now I've been told that they are developing a wine region there. So I'm really looking forward to checking that out. Yeah, obviously places like Pinot from Alsace is something that I lean into as well. Blaufränkisch from Austria. And of course, also Pinot from Baden. I was really smitten with that stylistic aspect in Baden when I was there visiting.
Very cool. When you think about Red Tail Ridge and the vintages that you've made since the start, have there been any that have stood out particularly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So the funny thing is, we have weather here. And I'm not going to say that we have bad vintages. I'm just going to say that we have challenging vintages. And those vintages are also incredibly exhausting. Those are vintages that really stand out for me. I can just remember how challenging they were and all the various things that we were doing to try to get the best outcome from our situation. It's not unheard of for us to actually take a look at what Mother Nature is throwing at us and just saying, well, I guess I'm not going to make that style of wine this year. I mean, because we're small, we have distributors that understand. We may end up in certain years not doing any still dry Riesling. It may all end up being botrytized and off dry because that's what we were handed by Mother Nature, and we're certainly not going to fight it. So years that were like that, I'd say 2009. 2009, it got incredibly cold, incredibly early. And I remember the challenges of that. 2013, somewhere around there, we had a double polar vortex. And a lot of people in the Finger Lakes lost almost everything. We were fortunate that we were able to still produce crop, but it was a very interesting year. 2018 was the year I was referring to where we had some really extreme wet weather during harvest. And then it would stop being wet. It would be dry, but humid. And so we had botrytis overnight. And so we ended up exploiting that to make an incredible Beerenauslese. And we just basically decided we weren't going to even attempt to make a dry Riesling because it would have been ridiculous to manipulate things like that. And then the last one was 2021. That was probably the most challenging vintage that I've ever experienced in the Finger Lakes. And I guess those vintages are vintages that I take a lot of pride in, because when I taste the wines from those vintages, I'm incredibly happy to see the outcome. Granted, they were hard to work with, hard to get to a proper harvest and to go through the process. But the outcome, I guess I'm very proud of the wines I've been able to make in those very difficult years. So I'm more intrigued and I'm more leaned into the challenging years that I've had there. Obviously, we've had very straightforward years and the wines are great from those years, but it's the character building vintages that I most remember. And God knows we have a lot of characters in the Finger Lakes.
Perfect. For the last question here, looking forward, what is on the roadmap for Red Tail Ridge? And I know we get into a lot of hospitality stuff in the main podcast, but is there anything else that you're looking forward to for the winery?
So I think just leaning more and more into traditional method. I would really like the Finger Lakes to become the domestic version of Epernay. I think we could do it. I think if we just leaned into it as a community, we could make incredible base wines for sparkling. And if we were just patient, we could put some wines out that would be incredible, like stylistically unique, but true to a precise sparkling. And that's really what I hope for the future. I know that there are a number of other small boutique wineries that are now putting tirage down. And I noticed too that there are a number of producers that have made sparkling here that are dialing back the sweetness of their dosage, which is a great thing because they're letting the wine varieties speak for themselves. So I would say that. And yeah, hospitality. I would say for the region, my hope would be that we would get more really nice places for people to stay. And we could entice some more chefs to come up here. And I would just like to see us be a destination all year long, for sure. It seems like things get really slowed down in December, January, and February. But hey, put your winter coat on, bring your long johns, and come up and visit. We do have a ski area up here. You can go skiing and then do a little tasting.
Awesome. We got a good review of Red Tail Ridge, and everyone should check out the full-length podcast to go a little bit deeper into some of the things that Nancy mentioned. Thanks so much, Nancy.
You're welcome. That was a pleasure to talk to you too.
And this has been 5 Questions with a Winemaker with Nancy Irelan.